In 1914, the majority of people believed that their nation had the right to defend themselves from any type of aggression. Yet winning the war wouldn't be so easy. They lacked men and weapons. To do this and to continue to supply the nation, leaders intervened in the economy. To do this, they intruded their citizens' lives and established new government ministries. But the country that stood out the most in developing a planned economy was Germany. A man named Walter Rathenow convinced the government to set up the War Raw Materials Board. After the horrible battles of Verdun and Somme in 1916, the Reichstag were forced to accept the auxiliary service law by Germany. This meant that all men aged from 17 to 60 worked only at jobs critical to the war effort. Women were also given heavy and dangerous jobs like men in factories, mines, and steel mills. With the support of France, Germany, now a doctoral decree, established a military dictatorship. Germany was the first to establish a totalitarian society. Germany was the only nation led by a military government, but in all the other aggressive nations, they took power from the parliament, suspended civil liberties, and ignored democratic procedures. Finally, a new federal agency such as the War Labor Board and War and Industries Board were regulated after the United States entered the war.
The social impact from war came from the national conscription, where millions of men were sent to the front line, exposing them to strange lands. Because of this, the demand for workers was enormous. The labor unions gained power in important decision-making and cooperating with the government. The loss of men to the military opened the opportunity for women to work in transportation, industry, and offices. Women believed this was their chance for the sex barrier to be broken down. After the war, many places like the U.S., Britain, Germany, and Poland granted women the right to vote. In other places, when the men came back, they demanded their jobs and the government kicked the women out of their jobs. Women started acting loosely by bobbing their hair, shortening their skirts, and smoking in public, which others frowned upon. To a limit, the war helped the dividing line of class disappear, especially in Great Britain. Although the aristocrat officers were not required to go at the front line, the peasants were uncared for and they suffered the most deaths.
There was also growing political tensions. In the beginning, the soldiers and people supported their government. They used a lot of censorship and crude propaganda. They used slogans, posters, and slanted news, which encouraged soldiers to continue fighting. However, in the spring of 1916, people began to crack under the strain of total war. It got around that Karl Liebknecht attacked the cost of the war and therefore got arrested. This action changed Europe and caused rebellion. Many people refused to fight, especially the French units. Russia, facing defeat, growing hopeless, they deserted in large numbers. The Germans suffered a lot from the burdens of the war. They starved to death because the British Navy's blockade greatly limited the import of food. In 1918, they founded the German Communist Party because of the troubles in 1917 and then beginning to crack. However, Russia was the first to collapse and save the Central Powers for a time.